Hello my math friends, this video is intended to help you understand a couple different types of percentage word problems that can get confusing, but my hope is to clarify this for you and give you nice easy steps to get through these problems and solve them correctly. So here we have two word problems that they're both in the context of going to an arcade and you're going to put coins in a machine and try to win coins back as prizes. And the two word problems are very similar, but there is a slight difference, and I want to show you how they are different and how you approach these differently. Let's read the first one. Here we have the number of coins in an arcade game increased by 20% and then decreased by 25%. If the number of coins left in the machine were 117 at the end of the day, how many coins did the machine begin with? Okay, there's a lot going on here. A couple key words I want to emphasize here is increased by 20%, then decreased by 25%. And also important is how much we were left with at the end of the day. All right. Let's just jump right into the shortcut of how we do this. When we talk about an increase, really what's happening here is the amount of coins is going up. But I don't know how many coins I started with. So how am I going to know what to add? Well, when we're dealing with percentages, just focus on the words increased. Now, if we have an increase, what I want you to do first is add 100%. We're always going to start with 100% and then add 20%. We solve that and we get 120%. Then what I want you to do is convert that to a decimal, and that's going to be 1.2. Okay. The next one is decreased by 25%. Keyword decreased. Again, we do start with 100%, but because there's a drop in the number of coins, we're going to say minus 25%. And so we end up with 75%. And as a decimal, we put that as 0.75. Now, if you want to learn the nuances as to why we use 100%, feel free to contact me and I can answer that in more detail. But for the sake of just getting through this problem, I just want to show you the process and how you can get through them quickly. Okay. Now we set up our equation. We have to make sure we're in decimal form before we use it in our arithmetic. So we're going to say, and then you simply just multiply. So you're going to say 1.2 times 0.75 times, now the number that goes here is always what you start with. Remember, in this story, we don't know how many coins we started with, so let's use our variable x. Unknown. We don't know what it is. And whatever it equals is always what you end up with. So we do know that there were 117 coins at the end of the day. Now, before I continue and solve this for you, I just want to reiterate, if there's an increase, you add to 100%, change to a decimal. If there's a decrease, you subtract from 100% and you get your decimal. And then you multiply those two decimals by your starting amount, and you'll get, after you do your calculations, you'll get your final amount. And remember, we don't know our starting amount in this story, so we just label it x. Let's do the math here. 1.2 times 0.75 is 0.9. Which means we get 0.9x equals 117. Following basic algebra, we just divide by 0.9 on both sides to get x alone. So we get 117 divided by 0.9 is 130. X equals 130. Remember, this is your starting amount, so we started with 130 coins. Or the machine started with 130 coins. With 130 coins in the machine. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. Problem 2, we have Jimmy went to an arcade and won 22% of the coins in a game. If there were 1,600 coins in the machine, how many did he win? Now this, we're still at the arcade, we're still putting coins in the machine to play, but the story here is just slightly different. If you pay attention, it's not that we're trying to find out how many coins the machine ended up with. They don't tell us anything about the number of coins went up, increased by this amount, or decreased and dropped by this amount. We don't know any of that. The only thing we're curious about here is how many coins did he win? And the key numbers here are he won 20%, 22% of the coins in the machine. So the wording here is different. There's no increase, no decrease. It's just, this is the part that I won. If there were this many coins in the machine, I won a certain amount of them that I got to keep. The approach to these problems is different. You simply take your 22%, or whatever percent it is. It could say, I won 50% of the coins. I won 80% of the coins. In this case, it's 22%. We simply change that to a decimal, and then we multiply. What's the same here is we do multiply by the starting amount again. What's our starting amount? If there were 1,600 coins in the machine, we know that's what the machine started with. So here we do know. And remember, X is our final amount. So what is similar in these two word problems is our starting amount is in the same position as when we set up the equation, and the final amount. And the process is essentially the same. You're multiplying that percent as a decimal with your starting amount to get the final amount. Again, what you'll notice different is this step over here in these problems. We have to do this first when there's an increase or decrease. So that is the key difference in these two word problems. And then the math will just do the same. Just calculate 0.22 times 1600 is 352 equals X. So Jimmy won 352 coins from the arcade game. Okay, so just that is the key difference. Those key words that we want to look for are, is it an increase or decrease type of percentage problem, or is it just simply I won this part, or I have this part of this total? And so you do have to approach them differently at the beginning when you set up your equations. Okay. But the core basics are the same. We've got a starting amount, final amount, starting amount, final amount, and then you just solve and answer the question in a sentence. There are variations of this word problem where they can add little complexities to that, and you just have to see how you can incorporate that. But if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully this video helps, and good luck.